Well, anyway, so I graduated from Dunbar in 1946 when I was 16 years old. And because I skipped that year, it kind of made up for it. And those were the happy days. You make friends in high school about 3 years. They become lifelong friends. And sure enough, that's what happened. Uh, I had teachers who were the top notch. I had a man that taught me biology who had a PhD. Uh, the woman who taught English had a master's degree. And they were the top notch people in D.C. So it was like, as I look back on it, a blessing, the fact that D.C. was segregated. And that's hard for some people like me to admit that segregation was a good thing. It was a good thing for that time because we had the best teachers in D.C. in Dunbar High School. We took chemistry, we took physics, we took German, Latin. It was, just an amazing thing. Well, Dunbar was this: their first day of school, the principal came in and said, I want to welcome you to Dunbar High School. And he said, let me ask you all, we were in the auditorium, said one question. How many of you think you're going to college? Raise your hand. I raised my hand, sure, because I thought I was going to college. He said, how many of you are not going to college? And then, of course, the kids who were not going to raise their hands. He said, well, let's pause here and give those of you who did not raise your hand each time to leave, because Dunbar is an academic high school. We're a college preparatory. And unless you prepare for college, I can't help you. Well, reason for that was there were 3 high schools in Washington that black folk would go to. It was Armstrong Technical High School, Cardozo High School, which was business, and Dunbar, which was academic. People who attended Armstrong were preparing themselves for technical trains. People who went to Cardozo were preparing themselves for business careers, in business, you might say. Duke Ellington went to Armstrong. So it was interesting, you might say. Well, when I graduated, my father then decided, time for me to, go to college. He, of course, insisted I go to Howard. And I went to Howard, and I made the dean's list the first semester I was there. As it turned out, I had a love affair with Howard since I was a child, because my mother and father adored Howard University, because that was the benchmark for black folk at that time. People would come from California to have their children attend Howard to get a degree from Howard. And I wound up, actually, to make a long story short, not only getting my bachelor's degree from Howard, I had a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I went to Howard as a pre-med student. But I had a problem with the idea of, my father wanted me to be a doctor, but it was something about that just kind of didn't sit too well with me. So I used to decide in my junior year to change my major from pre-med to psychology. Well, the psychologist practiced something called introspection. That was a process by which, that was a Freudian concept. Freud never did anything to his patients except let his patients cure themselves. Introspection means you ask yourself a question, like, well, why am I doing this interview? Well, you write it down. I'm doing it because they asked me to. And then by getting to the point where it is that you decided, I'm doing it because I want to do it. So introspection made me do this and this. So I went through this whole process, and Howard is located in a place in D.C. It was founded in 1867, right after slavery. and by a man named Oliver Otis Howard, who was a Civil War general, and it sits above a lake so blue. It was not really a blue lake; it was a reservoir, and that was the part of it. When I used to go, when I was in Howard, I would sit by myself. Most people thought I was a happy-go-lucky type of person because that's what I would do. People live, there's a private you and there's a public you. The private you is the one that looks you in the eye and tells truth to you. The public you is the behavior you put out to satisfy other people. So I would get by myself because I was kind of a loner, and most folks, didn't realize that. And I decided that I wanted to really think about this thing about being a doctor. So one day it occurred to me that why can't enjoy this whole process? And the conclusion I came to, I asked myself in one question, what do doctors do? Well, the answer was they treat sick people. And it turns out, I came to the conclusion, I don't like sick people. So I couldn't, being a doctor wasn't something I could do. And that was no joke. I really did not like to be, I was never sick. So I could not see myself sitting in the office, treating people, listening to complaints. But I like psychology because psychology dealt with behavior. And I found out after took this major in psychology that girls kind of flocked. So they wanted me to interpret their dreams. And of course, that was a part of it too. Is that one reason why I want to be a psychologist? Well, another reason was that my mother who was always supportive of me. I would grow all my clothes. I wore hand-me-downs. My older brother, I wear a suit, till he outgrew it. Then they would come to me, and they would give it to me. Well, my mother decided when I was in high school that that she would satisfy it, that she would buy me an overcoat, a top coat that would fit me through the whole 4 years I was in college. So she bought me a top coat that was about 4 sizes too big. Well, that top coat hung on me like a sheet. I think I think about it now, and parents do all kinds of things to survive because we could not afford a lot of clothes. And I knew that. Well, that top coat was a blessing because when I went to Howard, I would go to football games, and I could open that coat up and get 3 girls in there with me. So I would go to a football game and be a cold man, and girls would say, well, boy, let me get in your coat. Come on and get in my coat with me. Well, that went along pretty good, and I played that to a hilt.